All right, so we had one person in our group, number 3, and Elaine McGinty, I'm going to ask you to share your collection because I loved it. I thought that it was like the coolest thing. And we ended up having a long talk um, about the material because I had a very personal connection with the material.
I'm an English teacher and I wanted to connect it to my English curriculum. And so I picked a story called The Plum Plum Pickers, or From the Plum Plum Pickers. The story is called The Confrontation. And I used to teach it at Reagan. So, Bethany, if you're there, if that's still floating around, would be amazing. And so it would start with this question. Oh, that slide was really good. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. There it is. Ah, it's a good day. So, what is the story? What is the human story? What's the world story? What's the new story? And what's the untold story? Sort of looking at these items. And it actually starts with a song that's very beautiful. And was incredibly grateful to be able to share it with a doctor. Are you a doctor? I just felt like I should put that.
No,
Doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
Okay. You are in my head. And she talked about how we could open by asking if any of these images have a connection to the kids. Because I know that I probably have at least a few stories or a few kids in my class that could, in some way, like they have family that's participated in the migrant farm worker, or they are now. And so talking about that. And then also looking at naming the emotions in the story. And I thought that that would carry into this as well. The story is basically about a bunch of migrant farm workers and the person that weighs their fruit at the end of the day, who is also a migrant farm worker, but he sort of has an elevated work status. And there's an argument over how much they're going to get paid for, I believe they're apricots. And one of the workers puts his foot on his stack of boxes and is like threatening to kick it over after the person weighing the fruit says, "What are you going to do about it?" And then everybody sees that and they put their food on their boxes to indicate that they're going to kick it over. And it's a very closed story. It only covers what happens on the farm, but obviously it's part of a much larger story. And I feel like this would be a good thing. In my mind, I was imagining we'd start with this collection of images and these questions and sort of diving into it. Oh, and I'm going to add a picture of grapes as well. That's just an amazing idea. And then at the end, we'd come back to these stories and we draw connections between these stories and what we'd read, or we'd come back to these images and draw connections between these images, the stories that we told, and what we read about in the story.